Nightline begins right now with me, Adrian Seed. The top stories. Aidilfitri gift from the government. Free toll and discounts on 30 highways beginning Saturday. And flash floods, which struck parts of Kuala Lumpur, recede. We begin with this story. Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riyatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah received the credentials of 19 foreign envoys to Malaysia at Istana Negara on Monday. Accompanying the king at the ceremony was the Raja Permaisuri Agong Tunku Haja Aziza Amina Maimuna Iskandaria. Amongst the 19 foreign envoys were Takahashi Katsuhiko from Japan, Saad Mandi from Algeria, Wayne Mitchell-Robson from Canada, and Riyad Adridi from Tunisia. Other envoys were Peter Dimitrov-Andonov from Bulgaria and Lars Bo Larsen from Denmark. Also present at the ceremony was Foreign Minister Datuk Sri Saifuddin Abdullah. Malaysians driving home for the long-awaited Aidilfitri celebrations this year can look forward to cheaper or even toll-free rates on 30 highways nationwide. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the discounts and toll waiver are estimated to save motorists 77.1 million ringgit, adding that the highway operators will bear the costs. Plus, which operates the Spinal North-South Highway, will be waiving tolls starting midnight on Saturday, April 30th until 11:59 p.m. on May the 1st for all classes of vehicles. The other toll operator to waive the fares will be Aneh Berhad, which operates the East Coast highways. The waiver will take effect within the same period. Both the concessionaires will also be waiving tolls for the return trip. The free toll will take effect starting May the 7th at midnight until 11:59 p.m. on May the 8th. Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri said this will be the first time the two concessionaires will waive tolls for both trips. Apart from that, a toll discount of between 30% and 50% will also be given for all classes of vehicles on other highways during the same period. Amongst the highways are Shah Alam Expressway, Kesas, Damansara Puchong Highway, LDP, KL Putrajaya Expressway, MAX, Guthrie Corridor Expressway, Kuala Lumpur-Kuala Selangor Highway, LATA, and South Klang Valley Expressway, SKVE. The Prime Minister said the move was taken following discussions with 30 highway concessionaires. The draft bill to ban smoking amongst those born in 2005 and after is in the final stages of review by the Attorney General's chambers and is expected to be tabled in Parliament in July. Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said several rounds of engagement, including with the cigarette industry, had been held to gather feedback from all quarters before the bill was finalised.
Libat urus yang telah dilaksanakan oleh Kementerian Kesihatan, termasuklah juga libat urus dengan industri rokok itu sendiri. Dan saya juga akan terus mengadakan sesi libat urus dengan mereka supaya mereka memahami apa peruntukan dan juga peraturan baru yang akan kita perkenalkan.
Khairi said this after launching the Generational Endgame Anti-Smoking 18 program at Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Bandar Seri Putra in Selangor on Monday. He added that if the bill is passed, the ministry will be able to control the sale, possession as well as advertisements of smoking products including e-cigarettes or vape, irrespective of the platforms such as social media. The minister added that it has submitted a proposal to the Finance Ministry to reduce tax rates or duties on nicotine replacement products. The initiative was aimed at getting students who had never smoked to continue staying away from cigarettes, while those who have picked up the habit to quit smoking. On another matter, Khairi stressed that the relaxation of several standard operating procedures, SOPs, will be announced on Wednesday, has been deliberated carefully to ensure the safety of the people. He said the government did not want to make a mistake and let all efforts to curb the spread of COVID-19 to go in vain.
Kita tak nak tersilap langkah. Kita dah urus pandemik dengan baik dan kes makin menurun, hospital kita tidak tertekan. So we don't want to make a mistake. We want to make sure that whatever restrictions that we loosen kelonggaran yang kita bagi kepada SOP ini adalah bersifat selamat dan cermat. Jadi atas semangat itu saya akan bentang pada Jemaah Menteri pada hari Rabu nanti, dan kalau disetujui saya akan umum nanti pada hari Rabu.
On the Hajj pilgrimage, he said the ministry would issue a new protocol following the requirements imposed by the Saudi Arabian government on pilgrims this year.
Bukan nak kata mereka yang usia 65 tahun ke bawah ini tahap kesihatan dia semestinya lebih baik daripada usia yang lebih dari 65. Tetapi kita menjagakan disebabkan syarat tersebut, mungkin masalah kesihatan akan kurang berbanding dengan yang ini. Namun demikian, kita akan pastikan cukup petugas kesihatan akan dihantar ke tanah suci.
A total of 14,306 Malaysian pilgrims are allowed to perform the Hajj this year. Amongst the requirements for the pilgrims to be allowed to perform the Hajj are to be no older than 65 and fully vaccinated against COVID-19. Teachers have been instructed to refrain from conducting live social media sessions during home-based teaching and learning, or PDPR. Senior Education Minister Dato Dr. Razzie Jidin said the ministry will also issue an instruction outlining details related to streaming live on social media when conducting online teaching and learning.
Jadi perkara ini kita sedang perincikan tentang apakah pendekatan yang paling sesuai, dan kita dah maklumkan pada guru-guru ya, supaya elakkan berbuat demikian kerana impaknya adalah besar. Kadang-kadang kita rasa benda itu kecil, tapi anak yang masuk dalam video itu sampai bila-bila ya, dia akan kekal berada di media sosial, dan sekiranya ada jawab salah kena gelak kawan-kawan, macam-macam ya, banyak perkara-perkara yang kita perlu teliti dan perincikan.
He was speaking to reporters at the launch of Generation Endgame Anti-Smoking 18, or Gerga 18, at SMK Bandar Sri Putra on Monday. Although such an instruction is still in the finalization stage, Dato Dr. Razzie said the ministry has instructed teachers to avoid doing so, following the emotional impact on students. The senior minister added that there are instances where it could affect the morale of students if they were not able to answer questions being asked during the online teaching session. He said the matter is compounded by the fact that the live session could be accessed by social media users all over the world. On the issue of early retirement amongst teachers, Dato Dr. Razzie said the Education Ministry noted the trend which started in 2017 and was in the process of identifying the root cause.
Berkaitan dengan guru bersara awal ni, data-data yang kami ada sebenarnya menunjukkan trend daripada 2017 itu sehingga kali ini trendnya hampir sama ya, bermula daripada data yang kita ada bermula 2017 hingga kali ini trendnya hampir sama, cuma kita sedang perincikan lebih sedikit ya, tentang apakah menjadi punca-punca pada apa trend tersebut. Jadi insya-Allah dalam masa terdekat kita akan beri penjelasan yang lebih mendalam.
He also said the ministry is investigating the claims that huge workloads were amongst the reasons behind early retirement amongst teachers, adding that the ministry will try to find the best approach to resolve this issue once and for all. It was reported last week that the National Union of the Teaching Profession, NUTP, had expressed its concern over an increasing number of teachers opting for early retirement. According to its estimates, the union said more than 10,000 teachers have been submitting their papers annually for early retirement over the last few years. Waters from the flash floods which struck parts of Kuala Lumpur on Monday following a heavy downpour have begun to recede. Kuala Lumpur City Hall Executive Director for Social Economic Development, Dato' Anwar Muhammad Zain, in a statement, said his team received an emergency call on the flash floods at 3:51 p.m. He added that the DBKL traffic wardens were immediately deployed to the affected locations to smooth the traffic flow and ensure that traffic conditions were under control. He said amongst the areas affected by flood waters were Jalan Traverse, Jalan Sultan Abdul Halim, Jalan Kuching, Jalan Semantan, Jalan Segambut, Jalan Kinabalu, Jalan Cangkat Tambi Dolah, Sultan Iskandar Highway, Bulatan Dato' On, and Jalan Melaka. The capital has been hit by flash floods following heavy rain on Monday afternoon, causing massive traffic congestion for motorists heading home from work. Former Chief Secretary to the government Tan Sri Ali Hamzah was laid to rest on Monday at the Precinct 20 Muslim Cemetery. The somber event was attended by more than 200 family members and friends. Tan Sri Ali's remains arrived at the Kuala Lumpur International Airport at about 6:30 a.m. and was taken to his house at about 8:26 a.m. Amongst those who paid their last respects at his residence were Prime Minister Dato Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob and current Chief Secretary to the government Tan Sri Muhammad Zuki Ali. Tan Sri Ali's remains were then taken to the Tuanku Mizan Zainal Abidin Mosque for the public to pay their last respects. The funeral prayers were held after the Zohor prayers, led by the chief imam of the mosque, Nur Azamir Alias, and attended by more than 500 people. The body was then brought to the Precinct 20 Muslim Cemetery for burial and was laid to rest at 2:45 p.m. 66-year-old Tan Sri Ali, who served as the 13th Chief Secretary to the government for 6 years from 2012, died at the Dublin Hospital in Ireland last Thursday. Having a diverse and well-represented board of directors is vital in ensuring a good corporate governance. The Sultan of Perak, Sultan Nazrin Shah, said many studies have found that greater board diversity and more female representation could improve a company's reputation, lead to better financial performance, lower risk-taking and reduce fraud. Sultan Nazrin, in his royal address at the launch of the Corporate Governance and Ethics book at the Regent Auditorium on Monday, said much attention has been paid to this issue and quotas have been introduced to some jurisdictions and on some bourses. The ruler added that European countries now have gender diversity requirements for corporate boards, including Germany, the Netherlands, France, Spain, Norway and Iceland, while US-based Nasdaq and California have introduced even broader diversity quotas. He said these rules have been justified by the weight of evidence showing that diversity representation makes good business sense despite some resistance. Sultan Nazrin added that an effective board of directors to guide and oversee decision-making processes in a company is of paramount importance. Besides having an effective, well-balanced and ethical board of directors, Sultan Nazrin said rigorous reporting structures are also crucial to uphold good corporate governance. More local news later in the bulletin. But first, after this breather, Macron vows to unite a divided France after re-election win. Stay with us.
Sama-sama kita cari lebih rezeki.
Efforts to unite a deeply divided nation after winning re-election in a battle against rival Marine Le Pen that saw the far right come its closest yet to taking power. According to final results from the Interior Ministry, centrist Macron won around 58.54% of the vote in the second runoff, compared with 41.46% for Le Pen.
Alors il nous reviendra ensemble d'œuvrer à cette unité par laquelle seuls nous pourrons vivre plus heureux en France et relever les défis qui nous attendent. Les années à venir, à coup sûr, ne seront pas tranquilles. C'est ce qui fait du peuple français cette force singulière que j'aime si profondément, si intensément, et que je suis si fier de servir à nouveau. Vive la République et vive la France!
Macron is the first French president in 2 decades to win a second term, and his victory prompted a sigh of relief throughout Europe that the far right had again been thwarted from taking power in the key US state. But his latest victory over his far-right rival was narrower than their last face-off in 2017, when he won over 66% of the vote, and Le Pen's result was the best ever for the far-right. The president also begins planning for his new 5-year term with a daunting entree ranging from preparing for parliamentary elections as soon as June to implementing explosive pension reform plans and dealing with the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The Chinese capital, Beijing, has kicked off mass testing for millions of residents after a spike in COVID-19 cases. The city's disease prevention team said all 3.5 million residents in Chaoyang, Beijing's most populous district, will undergo 3 rounds of mass testing. Now, according to Deputy Director of the Beijing Center for Disease Prevention and Control, Pang Xingho, the number of cases in Beijing is expected to increase in the following days. Beijing's major supermarkets also extended their opening hours to accommodate the spike in demand as residents started to rush to stock up essential supplies. The Chaoyang district reported 26 cases over the weekend, the highest number so far in Beijing's latest surge. Coming up next, action from the Australian A-League. Australian A-League. Melbourne Victory fell out of the race for premiership after being held to a 1-1 draw by Brisbane Roar on Anzac Day in Brisbane, Australia on Monday. Victory, who needed a win to stay in contention for the race for the premiership, fell behind early in the second half when Alex Parsons scored his first goal for the season for Raw. The goal seemed to wake up Victory, who equalised through a header by Brandon Hamill in the 68th minute. Few minutes later, Victory squandered a great chance to gain full points when Marcos Rojas' shot was saved by Raw custodian Jordan Holmes. Throughout the race for premiership, Melbourne Victory can still contend for a spot in the grand final. Still on football, the US Major League Soccer. Denny Musovski scored the deciding goal as Los Angeles FC claimed a 2-1 win over Cincinnati. Cincinnati were the first to find the net in the first half's injury time as an error by Los Angeles keeper led to Cincinnati's counter-attack, leaving Liyana Acosta with an easy task. The lead lasted until the 59th minute when LA equalized, thanks to Kellen Acosta's fierce drive from outside the penalty area. Daniel Musovski completed the comeback for LA 10 minutes later, sealing a 2-1 victory for the visitors. Shabu over 10 million ringgit seized in raids. This and more from the local front when we return. Police will seek Interpol's assistance to trace 6 Sarawakians said to be victims of a job scam in Cambodia. Sarawak Police Commissioner Datuk Muhammad Azman Ahmad Sapri said the families of the victims lodged police reports on April 20th and 22nd, claiming that they had been duped into working in Cambodia.
Taktik ini digunakan untuk menjerat mangsa supaya bekerja dengan syarikat atau individu tertentu tanpa melalui proses pengambilan yang rumit. Pekerja ditawarkan menjanjikan pendapatan atau gaji yang lumayan. Tanpa disedari, tawaran tersebut hanya menjadikan mereka sebagai umpan bagi sindiket penipuan bagi menguat keuntungan yang berlipat ganda.
He said the victims, all men aged from 19 to 39 years, were from Kuching and Padawan. He added that the State Commercial Crimes Investigation Department had opened 2 investigation papers on cheating in relation to the case. Dato' Azman also said the Bukit Aman Commercial Crimes Investigation Department will work with Interpol to trace the victims in Cambodia and take action against the employment agents involved. He also advised the public not to be duped by job advertisements offering lucrative pay on social media to avoid falling victim to job scam syndicates, adding that members of the public can contact the CCID Scam Response Centre to get advice or provide information on online crime. Some 287 kilograms of shabu worth 10.3 million ringgit was seized in raids in Selangor and Johor. The syndicate was masterminded by a 25-year-old swimming instructor based in Puchong, Selangor, who was arrested along with 3 other men. Bukit Aman Narcotics Crime Investigation Department Director Dato' Ayub Khan Maidin Piche said the raids were conducted on Friday and Saturday. He said police believe the syndicate received the drug supply from a neighbouring country via sea routes.
Ada sebahagian daripada syabu ni dia digunakan, dijual, diedarkan untuk pasaran tempatan di Selangor dan juga Lembah Kelang. Dan kebanyakan yang lain baki ni memang dirancang untuk disudut keluar ke negara jiran. Macam saya katakan sebelum ni lah, syabu ni di sini dalam 1 kilo dalam 36-37 ribu. Tapi kalau di negara jiran di Indonesia itu 100,000 kilo.
The syndicate is believed to have been operating since January. Assets belonging to the syndicate worth 133,000 ringgit were also seized during the operation. Those detained have been remanded for further investigation. The Bukit Aman Integrity and Standard Compliance Department has been instructed to conduct a thorough investigation into the incident of a female police officer who made a live TikTok video during a police operation recently. Deputy Inspector General of Police Dato' Razaruddin Hussein said so far, police had not received any reports on the matter but wanted the department to conduct an internal investigation. Dato' Razaruddin said the department would issue a circular on the use of social media amongst police officers and personnel. In the 1 minute and 38-second video, the policewoman with the rank of Assistant Superintendent was seen explaining what she does at work, including conducting raids and inspections. Halfway through, she expressed surprise that the live video has more than 1,400 viewers and said she hopes her TikTok account will have more than 100,000 followers. Her action drew the ire of social media users who criticized her for taking advantage of an operation. In August 2020, the police issued a directive prohibiting its officers and personnel from sharing social media content of themselves in uniform. The directive stated Bukit Aman was concerned that its officers and personnel were recording and uploading dancing and other acts while in uniform on social media. Leave for 2,200 officers and personnel from the Road Transport Department RTD's Enforcement Division nationwide will be frozen during the implementation of Ops Hari Raya Aidilfitri Op HRA 2022. RTD Senior Director of Enforcement, Dato' Lokman Jama'an, said of the total, 300 personnel and officers were working in Selangor.
Kita beku untuk bahagian pengawasan kita beku semua. Sebab kita tahu selepas 2 tahun ni, orang dah ramai tak balik, ini excitement lah kepada orang yang keluar. Tapi saya percaya banyak daripada Selangor ni akan keluar. Tetapi kita tak ada melihat tidak mengambil rendah juga orang yang akan datang ke Selangor.
Dato' Lokman said the special operation from April 29th to May the 8th would focus on enforcement and advocacy to reduce the rate of road accidents during the Aidilfitri celebration. He also said all enforcement staff would be tasked to carry out comprehensive monitoring in all areas identified as hotspots for accidents and congestion, and conduct bus inspections at depots, highways and main roads. He was speaking to the media after inspecting the Sunny Bus Terminal in Klang on Monday. Also present was Selangor RTD Deputy Director Ahmad Kamuruzaman Merhat. RTD has inspected 50% of the 77 bus depots nationwide, and so far all buses were found to be in good condition to operate. It is expected that over 14 million vehicles would hit the road during the festive season, with 2 million of them to be on the highway at any one time. Skydivers Luke Akins and Andy Farrington failed to successfully swap planes mid-flight, foiling their bid at aviation history. The daring challenge saw the two pilots perform a synchronized nosedive at 14,000 feet before turning their engines off and then leaving their respective aircraft. The final part, which involved the men skydiving into each other's planes, proved to be the trickiest part. Let's take a look at this feat as we wrap up Nightline this time around. I'm Adrian C. Thank you for tuning in, and to all our Muslim viewers, Selamat Berpuasa.